After getting divorced, my best friend's life took an unexpected turn. My husband won't allow me to release her, even if I wish to. My friend, who is 38 years old, and her husband, who is 44, are getting a divorce. They will be named Alice and Ken. My husband, who is 37 years old, and I have been close to our friends Ken and Alice for 11 years. Alice and I were friends before we started dating our partners. We met in college. We lived in dorms and spent many nights studying together, laughing and having deep talks. We went on trips, cheered for each other's achievements, and helped each other during separations before starting a career and having children. She was my friend, and I was her special attendant at her wedding. We have always been together. Ken and my husband have become good friends over the years. They connected through sports and discovered they had a lot in common. My partner and Ken, who works with metal on their land. A person who enjoys working with gadgets, spends a lot of time at Ken's shop, hanging out and drinking beer, talking about life and job. During their spare time, they go fishing and assist each other with home improvements. Our big family now includes Alice's smart 12-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. Ken has been like a father to her since she was 4 years old, and he clearly loved her very much. My husband and I have always treated her like family, including her in our trips and celebrations. Ken informed Alice that he wanted to end their marriage more than a month ago. Alice was very upset when she told me, and her eyes reflected her emotions. She confessed their actions. The marriage had difficulties for half a year. She held Ken responsible for the argument because of his work problems. 3 years ago, Alice was given a higher position at her job, which meant more responsibility. Even though she worked hard, she had to travel for 3 to 4 months every year for this promotion. Weekends, mornings, nights, she always arrived punctually. She has always done well and stayed driven, advancing in her career with determination that I respect. Ken is a talented woodworker. He works full-time at a metal workshop on their property. Even though they are not the same, his responsibility is equally challenging. His clients' projects and his own business take up a lot of his time. I wouldn't say she is the one who earns the most money. Even though they had done a lot for their community, their connections with others were different now. Alice informed me that Ken had started expressing his unhappiness more openly about her job. He felt ignored, like her job was more important than their relationship. He frequently pushed her to look for a different job that required less traveling and fewer duties. She kept delaying it, hoping he would forget, but she always said she would consider it. They drifted apart because they fought a lot. After Alice decided to stay longer on her work trip without consulting Ken, the issue got worse. She forgot about the trip her family had planned for her. Return home. Ken felt ignored, and she knew what was most important to her. She came back from the long trip and found Ken packing up and putting away most of his workshop and tools. Until that moment, he had acted like everything was okay and had not informed her that he was going to leave. It was her decision. I phoned Alice, who was feeling sad. I didn't expect him to do that, she stated, repeatedly. She felt very sad at first, but then became very angry when Ken said they couldn't make up. His relationship had gotten worse since Alice got the new job, and he had had enough. He believed they had stopped spending time together as a family, that Alice. She stayed away from him when she wasn't around and liked to spend time with her colleagues instead. Their intimate life was completely gone. She ignored him whenever he was concerned. Ken's anger grew during his long work trip. He felt like he was not wanted, and nobody paid attention to him. Alice's drive and achievements were causing a rift between them. Alice was clearly annoyed when she told me. She couldn't decide between her troubled marriage and her love for her job. She didn't want to make a decision. Ken appears to have picked her. Everything became more difficult after a specific event, one that is hard for me to talk about. Ken and Alice were separated for 3 weeks. Alice remained in their old home with their daughter. Went back and forth between Ken's house and their own. Ken always brought his daughter home on Sunday nights because it was his turn to spend the weekend with her. Alice drank a lot and forgot what day it was. Sunday seemed the same as Saturday to her. When Ken and their daughter arrive, everything becomes chaotic. Alice has 2 sons. They were intoxicated in the hot tub. What was going on was clear even though they were not doing anything. The situation was very disorganized. Alice was drunk and unable to think clearly, tossing clothes and empty bottles. Alice got scared when Ken came in. She swore at Ken and yelled that it wasn't Sunday. She spoke and moved clumsily. The young men packed their things, appearing anxious. Ken ran fast. He brought her to his truck while staying calm to protect their child from witnessing something bad. He stayed calm for his daughter, even though he was very angry. Alice kept getting angry. She shouted accusations and swear words, not caring about the time. Harm was caused, but Ken managed to get their child out without her witnessing too much. Alice does not remember what happened the following day. She woke up with a headache and vague memories of the previous night. Ken received a terrible text message when she was upset. The messages were rude, mean, and about the person. After Ken showed them to my husband, he showed me. I said, something private, but I won't disclose it. Profound and memorable experiences. Alice sent messages to Ken while she was drunk. In those messages, she called Ken a failure, said he never loved her, and criticized his manliness. She expressed all her anger and rage through a lot of mean comments. Texts like this hurt my feelings. Alice, I had no idea. Her negative situation impacted everyone close to her. Meeting Ken was a turning point for him. To punish her, he reacted strongly. He wanted financial help for their child, to have their daughter live with him all the time, and to keep the house. He was also angry. He is done. Alice was deeply affected by the consequences of her actions. She said sorry. But the harm was too great. Ken was firm that there was no going back. Even with everything going on, their daughter preferred to remain with Ken because she felt safer and more secure. This is not Alice, I am aware. She is having a hard time. It's almost everything she has, and she needs companions. That night, Alice was drunk and made bad choices, concealing her inner struggle and cry for help. This moment of vulnerability had serious effects on everyone. Her daughter likes Ken more. My best friend and I will not end our friendship because of this. What is the problem? My partner wants to end our relationship. He said terrible things about her. I know she cares for her daughter, but he insulted her by calling her a bad mother. He insulted her by calling her selfish and using offensive language. He says he doesn't want me involved in her problems and things she does. Every time I suggest that she needs help and should change, he dismisses it, saying she is who she is and questioning why I want to spend time with her. I know he's looking out for his friend and that Ken's stories are mostly untrue. I know they were close for a long time. He has strong feelings for Ken. In my case, it's not the same. Alice and I have known each other for a long time before we got married. Even though I don't approve of what she did, I think it's ridiculous that he wants me to end my friendship with her. Alice has asked me out on many dates lately. She is having a hard time and feeling alone. I once went somewhere without telling my partner because I already knew their reaction. Honestly, I just wanted to speak with her in person to see if I could offer assistance. When I told him that we had seen each other, he started crying. I kept things from him, as he said, but I knew he wouldn't get it. He said that we would have problems if I didn't stop her. I feel stuck in his web. On one side is my partner of 10 years, my spouse. My friend Alice is like a sister to me. Excluding her makes me feel like I am betraying myself, a part of my history and our relationship. This improvement is not enjoyable. I arranged to meet with Alice on Saturday morning. Before she left for her work trip on Monday, I used to bring her coffee and assist her with tasks. I wanted to tell her that her family and I are concerned about her and want her to be happy, even though she has been acting differently lately. I was hoping we could. If I have a sincere conversation with my friend, she would agree to get help and work on improving herself. Nothing like that occurred. She got mad when I got to her house, maybe figuring out what I wanted even before I said anything. Signs that appeared early on were her abruptness and tendency to get defensive. She refused my worry about her, saying she was okay and having a good time. She said she needed a break after working hard, especially now that Ken was not around. Her disobedience was clear. She was upset because Ken never appreciated her efforts and donations over the years. She said she was the one who sacrificed a lot in their relationship, mentioning everything she did and spent on him. Her unusual way of speaking made me feel uncomfortable. She was always confident and self-reliant. Now it appeared that she was using their past to create stories for her writing. Ken works diligently and does not depend on her income. He was the main source of income when they began their relationship, assisting Alice in advancing in the company. Although she earns more money than him, he did not rely on her financially. Respect and being responsible to each other have always been the foundation of their partnership. She was justifying her recent actions by presenting herself as the victim who had been overlooked. But I was aware. Ken supported her professional goals through thick and thin. The sadness and anger from their breakup made it hard for her to see things clearly. I tried to talk to Alice, but she still said no. I received explanations for her actions when I tried to discuss her health. She said she was enjoying herself and felt she had earned it after everything she had experienced. She seemed to be convincing herself and me too. I was shocked by how angry she was. My friends told me that Alice was definitely being unfaithful to Ken. I asked her a question. She became upset and angry, her face turning red as she started to defend herself. She yelled, "I can't believe you would even question my attitude as if my suggestion was a betrayal." I talked about the heated pool. The event's unappealing look. Draw the picture again. Ken and his daughter got into the hot tub with two intoxicated young men. The situation was full of gossip and controversy. Alice said she didn't cheat. She said it was an enjoyable evening with no mistakes. When I asked for their names, she told me they were trainees at her job. She confessed without any trouble. When I inquired about their age, I felt sick to my stomach. What did she say? They were following the law. The way she said it gave me chills. It sounded like something a rude older man would say about younger women, harsh and disrespectful. Gross and upsetting. I didn't like her. Turning over. She appeared to be making light of the situation. Ken's involvement in the situation and the way she casually described the interns were unsettling. I thought there was more to the story than what she was saying. She might have been unfaithful before they broke up. I don't remember much about her. The friend I've known for a long time now feels like a stranger to me. She was very different from the Alice I knew in the way she spoke, acted, and carried herself. She had changed into someone I didn't know or understand. I faced difficulties during this journey. Her actions made it harder for me to assist her with this situation. Challenging time. Here, things changed suddenly, and when we talked. She was getting ready for a work trip. I inquired about her destination this time. She said Dallas. I didn't think a lot. She often goes to Dallas for work. Her way of packing caught my attention. Warm hats, sturdy shoes for walking, cozy tops, pants, and warm coats. She was wearing clothes suitable for October, not for Dallas. Dallas was still hot, so her outfit seemed silly. Maybe I never saw her packing work clothes, which was even more confusing considering her reason for the trip. The strangest thing? A strange Seattle Mariners shirt. Alice is not interested in baseball. She did not. I was very curious when I saw that piece of clothing. Her things. Why wear a baseball jersey on a business trip to Dallas? It felt even stranger when I considered it. I wanted to ask her about the strange list of things to pack, but I stayed silent. I made sure not to blame or ask too many questions, especially because she has been defensive lately. I tried to remain hopeful even though I was in pain. Alice moved quickly, almost as if she was in a hurry, as if she was packing. Her daughter's upcoming visit made the room feel more urgent. I allowed her to deal with things by herself to prevent making her feel more stressed. We embraced before I departed. I cared for her and just wanted her to be happy. I told her I hoped she would think about getting therapy after her trip. She gazed at me with different feelings and replied, "I will consider it. It was a small compromise, but I held on to it, wishing it could bring about something good." As I left the house, I had a strange feeling that something was not right. The strange way things were packed, the unclear answers, everything seemed off. But I didn't press it. I wanted to believe that Alice knew what she was doing, even though my instincts were saying the opposite. When I arrived home, my husband and I sat down to discuss how things went with Alice. I informed him about the clothes she was taking with her long pants, sweatshirts, a hat, jackets, hiking boots, and a Seattle Mariners jersey. He also found it strange. We both thought it was weird, but we didn't think too much about it then. But then the husband started investigating online. He was committed to understanding the situation. After looking around for a while, he found something that made me feel really sad. Can you figure out who lives in Seattle and has a profile picture on Facebook of themselves at a Mariners game? The father of her daughter. I suddenly understood it very clearly. When I looked at the Mariners' schedule, I saw that they will be playing at home next week. I called Alice right away, my hands shaking. Called her. When she answered the phone, I tried to speak calmly. "Please provide the text that you would like me to simplify. Are you truly going to Dallas?" she asked, Yes, for what do you think you will run into her former partner in Seattle? There was a long silence on the other side of the call, maybe a whole minute that seemed to last forever. I could sense the tension increasing. Alice, don't lie to me. I will find out, I told her. Finally, she told the truth. She confessed that she had reached out to him soon after Ken broke up with her, and they had been talking a lot, and additional things. She said he had changed for the better and had improved his life. She started talking about how he had transformed, become more responsible and steady, and now wanted to be involved in his daughter's life once more. All I heard was nonsense. I was very angry and sad. This man had hurt her a lot before, and now she was allowing him back into her life. After all the experiences she had with Ken, the last thing she wanted was to be with someone who had hurt her so much in the past. The fact that she had lied to me and planned this whole trip under false reasons made the situation even more terrible. I didn't know what to say. I felt a combination of anger, sadness, and fear about what could happen, meaning for her and her daughter. I didn't mention her child's father in the previous post because it wasn't important, but you should be aware that this man is a terrible person. He was unfaithful to her while she was pregnant and threw her out when she confronted him. He would hit her, say mean things to her, and make her feel really bad in ways that no one should ever have to go through. This guy had the nerve to say he didn't want anything to do with their child. When Alice finally contacted me, she was very worried, and when it was damaged, I acted without delay. I traveled to Seattle, picked her up, and took her back home. She stayed with me for a while, trying to rebuild her life. Those days were difficult. Alice was not herself. She was struggling with the pain of abuse and the difficult job of raising a baby on her own. However, Alice, who is a strong woman, began to slowly create again. She found courage in her daughter, who became her source of hope. Shortly after she moved in with me, she met Ken. He was like a breeze of fresh air, a nice and diligent man who treated her with the respect and love she really needed. After 1 year of being in a relationship, they decided to live together, and Ken welcomed the opportunity to be a father figure to her daughter wholeheartedly. He offered support and love, which Alice had been missing for a while. Ken was present for important moments in his daughter's life, such as when she took her first steps, said her first words, and started school. He was the one who stayed awake all night when she did not. Had a high temperature, taught her how to ride a bicycle, and read her stories before bed. In every important way, he was like a father to her. Their small family appeared to be ideal, completely different from the terrible situation Alice had managed to get away from. Remembering those times is hard because things have changed so much. Alice went from being in a caring and helpful relationship to the difficult situation she is in currently. Remembering her past experiences with her child's father only makes her current decisions more confusing and concerning. She knows exactly what kind of person he is, but she is allowing him back into her life. It's similar to watching her return to a building on fire. The idea of her daughter seeing that man again is too much to handle. She should have something better. Alice should receive something better. But she is very confused and in a lot of pain right now, so she cannot see it. It's as if she has forgotten the terrible things that happened to her before and is now ready to risk everything for a man who never should have been given another opportunity. All of this makes me scared, even more for her. I told her that out of all the bad things she has done lately, this was the worst. I was very upset and frustrated as I explained it to her. I was surprised she would talk to that man again, considering what he did to her and how he treated her. She repeatedly mentioned that it happened a long time ago, that he is different now, and that he hopes to see his daughter someday. But I didn't care about that. The marks he left, both on my body and in my heart, were still vivid in my memory, even though she decided to ignore them. When she mentioned he wanted to see his daughter, something in me broke. I began shouting loudly into the phone until I think I lost my voice. Are you crazy? After all the things he did to you and to us. Are you going to allow him back into your life? In your daughter's life? I was extremely angry because I had seen her suffer a lot because of that man for many years. I told her I was finished with her. I told her that if she boards the plane to Seattle, she shouldn't try to reach out to me anymore. I ended the call with her. She returned the call and sent a text message. However, I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't have the strength for her anymore. I spent the whole night crying on the sofa while my husband comforted me. He didn't emphasize it. He wasn't rude to me. He just allowed me to cry and said he was sorry. I apologized for the harmful decisions my closest friend was making. I apologized for being involved in this situation. I felt very tired, both emotionally and physically. The impact of my words and the seriousness of what I had said were very noticeable. This woman was my closest friend, my support, my sister in every important aspect. And then, I saw her walking on a road that I knew would only bring more pain and sadness. I thought I might have lost her forever, and it was very hard to handle. I couldn't understand how she could be so unaware, so ready to change the past for a man who had only caused her suffering. Remembering how I helped her start over, seeing her become stronger and more self-sufficient, now feels far away and pointless. It felt like she was losing all the progress she had made, and I couldn't do anything to prevent it. My husband hugging me was the only thing stopping me from completely breaking down. Alice sent me a text this morning. She apologized for lying to me and said she is grown up now and can take care of herself. What she said hurt me a lot. She didn't take my worries seriously and just waved them away. Our past. It felt like all the experiences we shared and the help I provided didn't matter to her. Her strong sense of pride was causing her to make risky decisions, and I felt powerless to intervene. I asked her if she was still planning to go to Seattle. I was hoping she would change her decision and think about it again. However, she answered with a straightforward and firm yes. That single word made the agreement final. I felt both mad and sad when I blocked her phone number. It happened. Finished. With sadness, I shared everything with Ken. He was sad but not shocked. His eyes showed a sadness that reflected how I felt. He mentioned that he was aware of the strong bond between Alice and me and expressed his condolences for my loss of a friend. His understanding and compassion were comforting, providing a small source of relief during a difficult time. I told him I was sorry that he had lost his wife, the woman he loved and took care of, who had become distant from him. You were correct. I feel like a complete fool. I might sound a bit selfish, but I feel let down. I had put a lot into our friendship, had been there for her, no matter what, just to see her ruin it all. Feeling betrayed hurt a lot, like a wound. That I didn't know if it would ever completely get better. Alice's choice to get back in touch with the man who had hurt her deeply was a betrayal not only of our friendship but also of herself and her daughter. She was going back on all the progress she had achieved, and it was very sad to see. I felt helpless because I had tried my best but couldn't help her overcome her problems. The memories of our friendship used to bring me comfort and happiness, but now they feel spoiled because of what happened recently. Each time someone laughs, each moment when something is shared. A hidden truth every time she was there for me and understood me, it was always clouded by her disloyalty. It was a tough lesson that sometimes, no matter how much you love someone, you can't protect them from their decisions. While I was thinking about the end of our friendship, I felt many different emotions. Feeling upset, sad, let down, and feeling guilty for a long time. Did I do everything I needed to do? Did I do everything I could? I couldn't stop thinking about these questions, even though I knew the answers wouldn't make a difference. Alice had decided, and now I had to deal with my decision. I recently lost a friend who was a big part of my life. My friend also lost his wife, and to make things worse, a child just lost her mother. No matter how hard life gets, there will always be someone ready to help and support you through tough times. Once you find these people, it is crucial to value and keep those relationships. Moreover, although work is very important in our lives, it is essential to find a balance between our job duties and our family obligations. Your family is like a safe place for you.